All right, here we go. It's time to grade the 49ers against the Seahawks and talk about how ready the 49ers might be for their showdown with the Philadelphia Eagles. Rather unique scenario here in which the Eagles still have a game before they play the 49ers. So San Francisco just gets the kick back here over Thanksgiving weekend and watch Philadelphia and the Buffalo Bills beat up on each other. And then the 49ers can size up the Eagles as this happens. Get ready for the showdown on Fox the weekend after that. If Buffalo wins, a chance for the 49ers to overtake Philly for that number one spot in Philadelphia, which would be a full circle revenge opportunity following last year's NFC Championship game. So those of you who say the NFL is scripted, well, maybe this is more evidence that it is, because it's all really, really coming full circle for the 49ers right now. And Sunday is going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun to watch. We even have Black Friday football for the first time here in 3 hours from now. It's going to be the two former Shanahan lieutenants, Robert Saleh's Jets against Mike McDaniel's Dolphins. Should be a fairly entertaining game. Finally, they benched Zach Wilson in New York. Remember those people saying the 49ers should draft Zach Wilson? Don't think that would have gone well. Trey Lance didn't go well either. You know what went well? Picking Brock Purdy at 262 for the 49ers. Purdy, best quarterback in the league so far this year. Yesterday, no exception. Another great game for Brock Purdy. We're going to go through all the grades. Going to go reverse order this time, though. Purdy was perfect against Tampa Bay. So we started with QB, and we had to after that 158.3 rating. But we can start with another position group that was perfect in this game yesterday. The 49ers defensive backs. Now, maybe it's a stretch to say they were perfect. I'm going to mention a couple plays where there were blemishes. But when it really mattered in this game yesterday, oh my goodness, were the 49ers good on the back end. And it really started with Charvarius Ward, the cornerback. And I thought that there was an extremely, extremely interesting quote from Charvarius Ward after this football game that I have to put up on the screen, and we absolutely have to talk about to begin this show. So remember that there was a lot of hand-wringing, rightfully so, about the 49ers defense in the bye week. Kyle Shanahan openly rebuked Steve Wilkes' play call on the cover zero blitz against Minnesota. That actually left Charvarius Ward out to dry. And then Kyle Shanahan moved Steve Wilkes down the following week from the box to the field. So, I mean, it was an example of a head coach taking matters into his own hands, making some big-time statements to the media and a big-time adjustment to get this defense back on track. For all we have known over the years, Kyle Shanahan has been relatively hands-off with the defense on a play-to-play basis schematically. He hires his defensive coordinator. He lets his defensive coordinator run the show. Shanahan obviously studies the defense, but he delegates responsibility. Charvarius Ward trailed DK Metcalf around in this game yesterday. And listen to what Charvarius said after the game in the locker room. This is courtesy of video from Tracy Sandler. The game plan wasn't for me to follow him, Ward said, but Coach Shanahan was like, why not? We need him to. They told me to do it, and I was up to the task. I feel like I had a pretty good game. Well, damn right, Charvarius Ward had a good game. He had an awesome game. He was there, and let's bring up the coverage stats, and we can go matchup to matchup right now for Ward against this Seattle receiving crew. Charvarius Ward against DK Metcalf. 6 targets, 1 reception, 14 yards allowed. Again, Geno Smith targeted DK 6 times with Ward covering him. 1 catch for 14 yards. He tried to go deep several times. Ward wasn't having it. I mean, perfect technique. Getting that hand up in the air on the one that would have been a touchdown had he not deflected it. That was down the far sideline over there near the pylon. I mean, it was stride for stride stuff. John Lynch, after the 49ers beat Carolina last year, as Charvarius Ward was coming off the field, John Lynch kept on saying, worth every penny. Worth every penny. This is a top flight cornerback. He had struggled a little bit with penalties earlier in the year, but a lot of that was Ward out on an island. I mean, the 49ers, and especially given the nature of this game, the flags are going to be thrown against the defense and not the offense. And a lot of those plays, back and forth contact, unfortunately for Ward, he was playing defense. He'd never been a liability for the 49ers. He just had a few flags early in this season that obviously hurt some of his efficiency. No penalties yesterday. And for the second straight year, he absolutely shut down DK Metcalf. But I keep on going back to what Charvarius Ward said after the game, that it wasn't actually the plan for him to trail and shadow DK Metcalf, that Steve Wilks wanted some kind of other coverage. I don't know, some kind of zone, something more complex. Kyle Shanahan, according to this, overrode Steve Wilks and just told the defensive staff that Charvarius Ward needs to do what he did last year. And, this is me speculating, but the 49ers, when they righted the ship defensively after the bye week, what I have noticed and what Richard Sherman advised for the 49ers to do before they turned it around, go back to what got you there. And I think that moving Steve Wilks down from the field to from the booth to the field symbolically set the 49ers defense up the way that they had it set up over the past several years with a defensive coordinator on the field. But also from a communication standpoint, if Kyle Shanahan wants to override something and go back to what was working before, it's a lot easier for Steve Wilks is on the field. It's easier if Steve Wilks has to respond and react to his players down on the field, right? Because that's what DeMeco Ryans had to do, and that's what Robert Saleh had to do on the field. And I think that when you look at something like this kind of adjustment that Kyle Shanahan made, and he said, why not? This is what you did last year. This is the essence of the 49ers taking from playbooks of the past defensively and making sure that they perpetuated what worked. So Charvarius Ward shut down DK Metcalf last season in man coverage. He shut him down by following him around on the field again yesterday. 1 catch on 6 targets against Charvarius Ward for DK Metcalf. And he's a physical specimen, so that's a hell of a job in coverage. That wasn't the only 49ers coverage success. Ambry Thomas yesterday gave up 2 receptions on 4 targets for 16 yards, had an interception against one of the better slot wideouts in the game, Tyler Lockett. Ambry Thomas just blanketed him to the sideline. Didn't look like Geno Smith was getting the mustard that he normally does on those throws to the sideline. He was okay lofting it deep. Even those hung up there a little bit, but throwing the deep out, throwing the dig to the sideline just wasn't there. And Ambry Thomas, he is growing up in front of our eyes. That was the most physical game in coverage that I've seen Ambry Thomas play. The question about him had always been, can he win with strength at the point of attack? He won with strength at the point of attack. Dialmo Lenore gave up only 3 catches for 52 yards. So you have Ward giving up 4 for 44, including only 1 for 14 to Metcalf. Lenore, 3 for 52. Thomas, 2 for 16. That is elite coverage for the 49ers in the back end. The A-plus for this unit also comes because did we really hear Jair Brown's name at all in coverage? He missed 1 tackle on Zach Charbonnet on a screen pass late. But Jair Brown gave up 3 catches for 13 yards into his coverage. This was a short rest week, and Jair Brown, a rookie, was making his first start at safety in place of Talanoa Hufanga. So I think Steve Wilks, maybe with some input from Kyle Shanahan, has fixed the 49ers coverage alignments. He has the 49ers defense in a healthy spot on the back end. Just a few weeks after it wasn't in a healthy spot, they were misaligned. They were giving up everything through the air against Cincinnati and Minnesota. But it is so healthy for the 49ers at this point that they could plug in a rookie and Jair Brown on a short week and we don't hear from him all week. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from the 49ers defense. And that coverage is now fueling the rush the way that the 49ers want it to. So really, really good game for the DBs. Charvarius Ward, Ambry Thomas, Lenore, Jair Brown, Tashawn Gibson, I thought was good as well. Gibson only gave up 1 catch for 16 yards into his coverage. Linebackers for the 49ers. We're going to give them an A. While we do that, I want to look up the tackle totals in this football game. But I thought that Warner, he's been playing at all pro level all season long. He's the heartbeat of this defense, the communication nerve of this defense. He's got the radio in his helmet. Whenever the 49ers coverage and rush is as tied together as it was in this win over Seattle, I think the linebackers have to get a lot of credit because they're the intermediaries of the defense. Greenlaw led the way with 8 tackles. Look at Javon Hargrave, 7 tackles. We'll get to that in a little bit. 7 tackles for a defensive tackle is big time. Warner was at 6. So 14 combined tackles between those two guys. And Oren Burks had 4 plus the special teams recovery. Big play from Oren Burks after a Ray McLeod muffed punt. The 49ers linebackers are the best in the league, hands down. They're not a close second in this battle either. And I thought that Steve Wilks was also on fire yesterday with some of his blitz calls. He brought blitzes at just the right time in this football game. And the front four didn't need a whole lot of help collapsing the pocket. But you do have to mix things up in the NFL because even if it's just 4 rushing and even if those 4 are winning, quick release can sometimes get you. Can even get if there's 7 coverage on the back end. So you want to bring extra rushers at times when the offense is off balance. And to do that, you have to win the chess match as the defensive coordinator. And I thought Wilks won the chess match as the DC. To be the only bad drive that Wilks had was the one where the Seahawks got the ball with 39 seconds left in the first half, and he went to soft coverage, and he went to prevent. And it gave Seattle a scoring chance. I know they missed the field goal, but the 49ers had given up 15 yards of total offense up until that point. So 29 minutes and 20 seconds of the first half, you give up 15 yards of offense. You're giving up, a half yard a minute in that situation? And then you go and then you change it? Yeah, you don't have to change it up in that situation if you're Wilks. I think that's a good learning lesson for the 49ers. He was playing some soft coverage early in the year. I remember the Rams game outside of a 2-minute drill, and I think that some of the coverage alignments got the 49ers in big trouble against good quarterbacks and Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow, both of whom happen to be out for the season now. That's crazy. But I think, that those were all learning lessons. Wilks went back to the drawing board. Shanahan audited the defense over the bye week. The coverage is tightened up. Shanahan seemed to override the plan for Charvarius Ward, had him trail DK Metcalf around. The coverage got way stickier in this game for the 49ers yesterday. And that fixed a ton of things, right? That the downstream domino effect helped the 49ers pass rush. And, as part of that, the linebackers and their coverage, because Warner and Greenlaw are so involved sideline to sideline in the seams downfield, they also fueled things for the 49ers pass rush. Seattle in this game, their running backs managed only 17 carries for 67 yards. That is the 3rd straight game during which the 49ers have stymied the opposing standard rushing attack. It has taken gadget plays and quarterback runs to develop any sort of rushing efficiency against the 49ers. If you can stop the standard run and you're sniffing out the screen passes, as the 49ers did a good job of yesterday, they're better against the screens now, so the linebackers get an A because of that as well. But if you can do those two things, opposing quarterbacks are not going to have an easy platform from which to throw the ball. The run game diffuses the pass rush. Screen game diffuses the pass rush. Without either of those two, the pass rush is on its toes and it can make opposing QBs' lives miserable. And I think that's exactly what we saw yesterday. So credit across the board, but the nerve centers of the defense, which is that linebacker position, they get a special shout out when the 49ers are on a 3-game roll slowing the run. Remember that at the bye week, this was the number 26 run defense in the NFL. That was the primary reason why the 49ers were struggling defensively. Yes, the coverages were misaligned, all this and all that, but you can mask a lot of that if the pass rush is on its toes. You can't be on your toes as a pass rush if you're not stopping the run. Now, Kenneth Walker missed a game for Seattle. Big break for the 49ers. He's a good back. Zach Charbonnet wasn't up to the challenge yesterday. DJ Dallas, D. Eskridge, those guys couldn't get it done either for Seattle. So as long as the 49ers continue snuffing out the run, they're going to be having fun along that defensive line, which gets an A+ for its performance against Seattle. I mean, this was an otherworldly performance. This is one of the most talented defensive lines in the history of the NFL. There's no question about that. The question falls to, okay, how will the D line produce? Is it going to live up to its talent level? The 49ers have notched 86 pressures in their past 4 games against the Seahawks. They had 61 over 3 last year. They had 25 pressures yesterday. I wrote it on Twitter. You could see it up on the screen. I have quite literally never seen anything like this. This is a whipping at the line of scrimmage of unprecedented proportions. The 49ers are winning against Seattle up front and making this look like it's an NFL team against a college team. 86 pressures over 4 games and 25 in ones. That's a 100 pressure pace over this one is absolutely unbelievable. And Thursday's totals were, as you might expect, gaudy on an individual basis as well. Nick Bosa, 9 pressures, 2 sacks for him. He's now the 49ers leader in sacks. Javon Hargrave, unblockable in the middle. Eric Armstead, he had 13 against Tampa Bay, follows it up with 3 more against Seattle. Kinlaw getting in on the party. Chase Young, a quieter game for Chase Young, but his presence alone is what's helping everybody else free up for some of these pressures. And Randy Gregory, I thought, played a really good game. He flattened Forsyth, the tackle, in the end zone. That was a big, big play from Gregory. So quietly, Randy Gregory has also been a productive pass rusher. I know that he's not in the totally featured mix, but every single one of these guys in the rotation is going to play, and they're going to stay fresh. And that can be the difference between a decent player and an elite one in the fourth quarter. If you can give that guy enough rest over the course of the game to give you fresh snaps so he's not gassed by the end of it. But this is staggering. This is the result of stopping the run, and this is what having some fun looks like. The 49ers set the edge. The 49ers tackled well. They only had 5 missed tackles on this football game. More credit to the linebackers. That's another. If you can keep it 5 or lower for a football game, that is elite. The 49ers have done that now in weeks 3 to 5, and they did it yesterday against Seattle. They are officially back when it comes to tackling. After giving up, 32, 33 tackles over that really poor 3-game stretch, the 49ers are roaring again. And the defensive line is a beneficiary because opposing quarterbacks everything is so airtight on the back end that Geno Smith has to hold the ball for an extra hitch. Holding ball for an extra hitch is what gets him sacked 6 times in this football game against the 49ers. So, again, one more time, just have a look at these pressure numbers because they were downright awesome. It seems that the 49ers don't have a weakness defensively anymore. The one weakness on this football team is here, the offensive line. And the offensive line is going to get a C. These are the pressures allowed for the O-line against Seattle. I'm going to go left to right. Trent Williams, really good. I mean, Trent Williams makes this offensive line by himself, essentially. They could be struggling everywhere else, but he's so good on the left side, and they trust running behind him and Aaron Banks so much there that they can make up for a lot of struggles just with that unit there at left tackle and left guard. Banks, he played through a turf toe. He wasn't 100%. He deserves his flowers. This was a tough performance from Aaron Banks because if he wouldn't have toughed it out, then they would have had 2 backup guards because Feliciano, who gave up 4 pressures at right guard, was filling in for Spencer Burford, who couldn't go because of the knee injury. I thought Jake Brendel acquitted himself really well in this football game. He was struggling to snap the ball early on. There were some low snaps, but Brendel figured that out after the first drive or so. And Seattle has a revamped interior. I thought that he fared much better in pass protection than he did a week prior against Vita Vea and company of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then Colton McKivitz gave up 3 pressures, and that is an issue on the right side that Brock Purdy continues to overcome. The touchdown pass there at the end to Brandon Ayuk, that came after Colton McKivitz was beaten cleanly by Boye Mafe. John Feliciano, I thought, was getting stampeded there quite a bit by Seattle. Put simply, the 49ers have an issue at pass protection, but Brock Purdy is such a good quarterback that he's making people forget about it right now. It's making casual people not realize that this pass protection is letting up quite a bit of pressure. Again, these numbers speak for themselves. Spencer Burford is one of the worst pass protecting right guards in football right now. He's hurt. Feliciano filled in for him. 4 pressures wasn't great yesterday. I don't know what the 49ers do against Philadelphia. Some people would argue that this is the best 5 for the 49ers, that Feliciano should start against Burford. I haven't gotten a read on what Chris Foerster or the coaching staff thinks, but it's going to be fascinating to see what unit they bring against the Philadelphia Eagles, especially if Spencer Burford is healthy. Shanahan said that for a Sunday game this week, he probably would have been healthy, but he wasn't able to get out there for a Thursday game. Still, Brock Purdy, the way that he ran around, Brock Purdy was we're going to get to Brock Purdy later, but within the context of the line, Brock Purdy was 3.4 snap to release average time. That's a really long time. That is a number that you see only from running quarterbacks, because an immobile quarterback cannot hold the ball on average for 3.4 seconds and survive. He's going to get sacked before then. Purdy was running around back there, and he's always going for the big play downfield. After he's done scrambling, he'll scramble all the way to the sideline, post up, go deep. And he throws a nice safe pass as well, so it can't be intercepted. He was taking shot after shot after shot. Most of the time, it didn't work. Finally, on the 28-yarder where Purdy bought a little bit of time, hit Brandon Ayuk. That was a very aggressive throw. It did work. But Purdy is constantly looking for the big play downfield, and he's doing it in spite of the fact that his offensive line is struggling in front of him. I respect Aaron Banks' performance fighting through the turf toe, and I think that Trent Williams remains a cheat code. But I still think that the right side of the offensive line is giving up way too much pressure, and it's a liability for the 49ers. So the best I can give them as a front is a C, and it's going to be really, really intriguing to see what they do next as they continue to try to evolve. But PFF pass blocking grade entering this game, number 28 for the 49ers in the NFL. So you have the top quarterback in the league, Brock Purdy, number 1 in efficiency, pass protection, number 28. More reason why Brock Purdy has been the top quarterback in the league. But Philadelphia's got a ferocious pass rush, so it's going to be something that the 49ers need to improve moving forward. Running backs, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, let's spend some time talking about this game. I think he had over 50 yards over expectation, despite the fact he had no big-time explosives in this game. And there are no like 60, 70-yarder. There was a 27-yarder from Christian McCaffrey. Rushed for a couple touchdowns, 19 carries, 114 yards for him. The 49ers, I mean, look at the rushing totals. They were absolutely gaudy on the big picture because they wore Seattle down over the course of this game. The rushing totals are at the top. 33 carries, 169 yards, 5.1 a pop, 3 touchdowns. McCaffrey running over people left and right. There was a play where in the way that McCaffrey and Trent Williams and just all the blockers, because the 49ers are better in run blocking than in pass protection. But there was a play where Williams is engaging a defensive lineman and McCaffrey is kind of pressing the issue to the left side on the outside. This is why the 49ers are so good on that outside zone running left. But McCaffrey then just decides to cut back, just a very subtle sidestep back to the right of Williams, shoots upfield. There's probably no back better in the league at that type of maneuver, at that quick change of direction than Christian McCaffrey, which is why he's one of the leaders in rushing yards over expectation. He's getting more than what is blocked for. And the 2 touchdown runs that he had early in the game, there were no better examples of that. And Seattle didn't show up ready to tackle in this game. In fact, I could look to see the amount of missed tackles. The 49ers missed only 5. The Seattle Seahawks missed significantly more than that. Let's see. But Christian McCaffrey was one of the big reasons why Seattle was struggling to tackle, because it's Christian McCaffrey and it's hard to bring him to the ground. So defensively, it says Seattle missed 9. So they missed 9 and the 49ers missed 5. But, I mean, Quandre Diggs missed 3. They benched Tariq Woolen, who just wasn't showing much tackling effort at all early in the game. And then, of course, you had Devin Witherspoon, even though he got credited for that tackle on Jawan Jennings. We'll talk about that in the receiver section. Got dragged a good 5 yards to the first down. Christian McCaffrey then was given most of the Seattle defense a ride on his touchdowns. He is absolutely unbelievable. McCaffrey is the NFL leader in rushing yards. He also was out there delivering in the pass game, 5 catches, 25 yards for the 49ers. NFL leader in all-purpose yardage. The cohesion he has with Brock Purdy is magical. They actually were the battery on the play that went wrong for the 49ers, the pick six, the ball that clanged off of McCaffrey's outstretched arm. Purdy was inaccurate on one of the short throws. But if that's the only error that these two make all season when they're trying to connect on the football field, then the 49ers are going to be in a really good spot. You cannot say enough about Christian McCaffrey. And then you have to note that Elijah Mitchell ran the best that he has all season. 7 carries, 39 yards, 5.6 a pop for Elijah Mitchell. I said last week, it's very clear that Elijah is the 49ers' best outside zone runner. Hands down. I mean, there was that people always, there's just drama for nothing, right? And it's like, oh, why isn't Jordan Mason above Elijah Mitchell? Because Elijah Mitchell's better than Jordan Mason. The coaching staff knows a lot more than you do, right? The people that actually watch the tape realize that the 49ers run a lot of outside zone. They need somebody who could stretch that outside zone. Jordan Mason is going to be more of a, he's a bowling ball on the inside. There's going to be use for him at some point this year, but Christian McCaffrey is your best short yardage back, and Elijah Mitchell is your best backup a lot for the outside zone to give Christian McCaffrey a breather. And we saw Mitchell stretch that outside yesterday very well. I thought we saw him put his foot down in the turf and cut up field more explosively than he had done in some time. I think Mitchell's been healthy for quite some time now, which is good for him because he had been hurt so much before then. And I think that had probably compromised some of his effectiveness. But when you've got Mitchell averaging 5.6 a pop and Christian McCaffrey at 6 yards a carry, it's a good two-headed monster for the 49ers in the backfield, and it warrants an A+ for the 49ers running backs. All right, let's take a look at the receiving grades in this game. A+ for the receivers. Deebo Samuel was excellent early on. The route running was on point. Shanahan's play calling was on point. The 49ers passed to set up the run in this football game, and he had some explosive catches of over 20 yards in the first half, 7 for 79 yards. And Ayuk only had 2 catches, but he's still number 2 in the NFL in yards per route run behind only Tyreek Hill. And he looked a lot like Terrell Owens, and Brock Purdy looked a lot like Steve Young on the 28-yard touchdown. That was supposed to be a check down. Like, that's what everybody expected it to be. They were running deep zone coverage. 49ers had a wide open option underneath of the middle of the field. Could have been an easy 12-yard gain. Purdy said, screw that. I'm going for the kill shot. An arrogant throw. But Brock Purdy's an arrogant quarterback. And I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. The 49ers offense has been so mischaracterized this year. Brock Purdy especially. But Brandon Ayuk, with the separation he's getting and then his ability to catch the football in traffic and then his rapport with Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk deserves all of his flowers. Deebo Samuel, the impact he has on the offense, the gravitational pull. Deebo was lining up in the backfield yesterday. That's the positionless skill position stuff it just left Seattle's head spinning. Deebo's taking handoffs. Deebo's catching 24-yard passes downfield. That sets up the run game. Brock Purdy is managing and executing everything the way that he needs to. I mean, this is a historically good offense right now. And every single component of it is important in that effort. I talked about the explosive play rate for the 49ers a little bit earlier today, and we're going to put that back up on the screen right now because explosive play rate is probably the second most correlated statistic to winning outside of giveaways and takeaways. And the 49ers, by the way, have the league lead now in takeaways with 21. I forgot to mention that on the defensive side of the ball. The Ambry Thomas pick, and then obviously special teams, muffed punt, 49ers recovered. But look at this. Explosive pass rate on offense. The 49ers at 21.4% are roughly as good as the greatest show on turf Rams were. And then, back to the cornerbacks and their grade of an A+ and the safeties. The 49ers explosive pass rate allowed is also leading the league. So the 49ers in all of the key metrics that are correlated with, okay, does this team have a legitimate shot at winning the Super Bowl? The 49ers are dominating those metrics. But back to the receivers. When the 49ers need to land a punch, they've landed a punch. Brandon Ayuk got that pass from Brock Purdy, punch after punch in the first half. Deebo Samuel. And then I thought that, one of the biggest plays of this game was the third down where Juwan Jennings caught the ball short of the sticks. 3 Seahawks defenders try to tackle him. And he just gave Devin Witherspoon, a much weaker cornerback, a rookie who needs to get in the weight room to be ready to play the 49ers, gave him a ride for like 5 yards. That play right there, that Jawan Jennings play, where he's just bowling over people. And I was watching with a bunch of people from Tennessee, and he was a volunteer. He went to Tennessee. He's from this Nashville area. They all went crazy. They love Jawan Jennings. That play illustrated the massive gap in between the 49ers and the Seahawks. That play, I think, is going to translate to showing the gap between the 49ers and the Eagles. I don't think that the Eagles are ready to tackle the 49ers on the outside. The Eagles didn't have to last year because Brock Purdy got hurt. I think Philadelphia has an advantage with their D-line against the 49ers front. But it remains to be seen if that advantage can translate into facing Brock Purdy and his ability to manipulate the pocket and make bad pass protection look better. And if Purdy can distribute the football, and remember, he started the NFC Championship game 4 out of 4. If Purdy can distribute the football in that way, then the Eagles are going to have to be tackling on the back end, and I'm not really sure if they're ready for it. The Seahawks weren't. Everybody was talking about the Seahawks defensive backs being some kind of special breed. Well, that was the talk entering the game. The talk leaving the game is Tariq Woolen got benched because he wasn't ready for the smoke the 49ers were bringing, and Devin Witherspoon wasn't either. So the 49ers receivers set a complete tone yesterday with their run blocking, and then with Jennings after the catch, Ayuk with the dagger, Deebo Samuel with those 20-plus yard catches early on in the game. Deebo Samuel, his adaptability. This 49ers team is an absolute nightmare to cover. And I'll tell you what, everything is a reason behind this next stat that I give you. They're all components to this, but the 49ers, when they've been healthy this year, and that's involved Deebo Samuel being on the field, are 8-0, and they've won all those games by an average of 20 points. That kind of stuff isn't supposed to happen in the NFL, and it is a reflection on the talent at every single part of this operation, and the receiver position is especially loaded for the 49ers. Kittle made some big catches. How about that third down catch that Kittle made against Jamal Adams? Jamal Adams is not very good in coverage. Kittle was 3 for 19 yards, so not a huge game for him, but an important good game for him again. So the tight ends get an A. Charlie Werner had a nice block in this game. Only 5 snaps for Charlie Werner, but he made them count. So the tight ends are going to get an A as well. And that moves us to the quarterback, Brock Purdy, A- for the QB. And, let's take a look at where Purdy's at in the advanced metrics of this football game or of this season. He was, again, plus efficiency. Brock Purdy has only had one bad game, inefficient game in his entire career. And that came against the best defense possibly in NFL history. At home, the Cleveland Browns have performed better than anybody else. And even in that game, Purdy still led the 49ers onto what should have been the game-winning drive. But yesterday, Purdy made only one poor throw. Maybe 2, because the play before the tip pick, I think he threw a little high to Deebo Samuel. So maybe we'll say 2 poor throws. But the one to Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Shanahan said that he called the wrong play. Shanahan blamed it on himself. Purdy blamed it on himself. Obviously, it wasn't on target. I don't know if we've ever seen Purdy miss a short throw like that. It seems like he's damn near 100% accuracy rate on those, which is, the first spot of his game that he was way better than Trey Lance. Trey Lance was unplayable for the 49ers because he couldn't make those short throws consistently. He'd have like a 60 to 70% hit rate on the short throws, which is atrocious. I mean, that's just not going to work. If Lance is in there, he probably throws a lot of tipped pick sixes because those are bread and butter staples of the offense. Christian McCaffrey is going to be running those bailout routes a lot. 49ers thought they had a bailout route to McCaffrey. Purdy throws a little wide, a little bit high. It's tipped up in the air, turns into a lucky interception for Seattle and the pick 6. So that's why Purdy's at an A-. But the reason that Purdy is above anything like a B+ or B or whatever is because of this right here. And you could see just how good Brock Purdy has been on the season. Dak Prescott had another nice performance yesterday. Prescott has climbed the charts, but Purdy's lead in expected points added per play is still massive over Prescott. We're going to see Josh Allen take on Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, number 3 versus number 7 on Sunday. Neither is close to the ballpark of Brock Purdy, one of the MVP candidates, right? I think that Purdy has an opportunity looming in front of him. If he can go into Philadelphia and can continue to deliver with the efficiency that we've seen over the course of this spectacular season that carried over into last night at Seattle, if we can continue to see the fearlessness that we've seen from Brock Purdy, and he does this against the Eagles and the 49ers win, he will get his flowers from the national media. That is my prediction. And if he doesn't, then the bias is irreparable. But Brock Purdy, there's a very good chance that he's leaving this game against Philadelphia as your MVP betting favorite. Let's put it that way. Right now, by any objective measure, he's a front runner, but I know that he's not getting his due respect yet from the national media, but it's absolutely an opportunity for Purdy to get that. Look how far ahead of everybody else he is. I mean, and he was making, like I said, it was 3-4 from snap to release for Purdy yesterday. Only running quarterbacks have that high of a snap to release. And it wasn't because he was taking too long in the pocket. It was because he was literally scrambling away from a struggling offensive line and pushing the ball downfield. I don't think they connected on any of the truly crazy, frantic plays, but they're close. I mean, there was one where I think it was the Deebo Samuel. He was just a little bit out of bounds. There was one that he tried to go to Jennings in the end zone, but him and Jennings went on the same page. I mean, it was all kind of like quarterback pushing the limits kind of stuff. It's comical to me because there are people who are saying, oh, this is a dink and dunk guy. They couldn't have been more wrong about Brock Purdy as a quarterback than they have been, because he is the quite polar opposite of a dink and dunk guy. He literally is leading the offense to one of the most impressive marks you'll ever see, a greatest show on turf-like number, an explosive pass rate at 21.4%. And Purdy is doing it because he's taking these aggressive chances downfield. The touchdown to Brandon Ayuk, the 28-yarder, again, that was supposed to be a check down. Kyle Shanahan changed his mind while that ball was in the air because it was such a perfect pass. They looked like Steve Young to Terrell Owens against the Packers, except it wasn't a desperate situation. So Purdy had even more bravado to throw it into that window. So what you're seeing here is special on a week-in to week-out basis. The 49ers are happy to have Brock Purdy. And the one mistake yesterday was just that. It was just one mistake, and that was it. So across the board, these grades, I mean, A+, C, the offensive line is the one fracture point of this team, it seems like. Running backs, A+, A-. Those are some damn good grades, and they all added up to a 31-13 win of the Seahawks. 49ers have been winning by an average of 20 points when they've been healthy. Really, really impressive. Now, the last grade that I have to give, because I forgot to give it, special teams. And I'm going to give him a B. Now, the special teams unit, they gave up that initial kick return. It was Darrell Luter Jr., one of the plays of the game, who ran down Eskridge, and that was from the opposite side. And it's like the 49ers got a dude in Darrell Luter Jr. If he, at that size, is a bigger body for DB. If he's got that kind of burst and that kind of speed, he's going to do something for the 49ers in the defensive backfield, as long as he's reasonably competent from a technical perspective. But that play erased a big potential headache for the 49ers. Seattle had to settle for a field goal. But to me, it was also symbolic because after that, the 49ers did not struggle at all on special teams. I get it. McLeod muffed the punt, but they made a great play when Oren Burks recovered it. Seattle muffed the punt, DJ Dallas, and it was Ronnie Bell, I think, who recovered it. It was a host of 49ers in on that. Jake Moody made his field goal. The Seahawks missed theirs at the end of the first half. I mean, Seattle had long been a tormentor of the 49ers on special teams. They entered this game as the number 5 ranked unit in the NFL on special teams. The 49ers were number 25. It looked like more of the same was about to happen on that first kick return, but Darrell Luter Jr. saved the day with his tackle, and from that point on, the 49ers were off and running on special teams. If you look at this right here, this is a good overarching metric of the 49ers' performance in all 3 phases of the game. Expected points added in all 3 phases. They're positive on offense, plus 8.1. They're positive on defense against Seattle, plus 10.6. And they were barely in the negative 0.6 on special teams. But if you take away that first kick return, they are definitely in the positive. Fun fact about this season is the 49ers have yet to score in the positive across all 3 phases in a game this season. They're still looking for that first performance where everybody is in the positive. Are they going to get it? Well, they hope to get it against Philadelphia. It'd be fitting, I think, if the 49ers were plus, plus, plus for the first time, clean sweep against the Eagles on their way to the NFC number 1 seed. But they still, I mean, remember, on the aggregate, they entered this game number 25 in special teams for a reason, because it's been an issue. They reversed course after Bluter's big play, but Philadelphia is a top 5 special teams unit as well. And the 49ers are going to have their work cut out for them moving forward, especially since the bad news coming out of this game is that George Odom, the 49ers safety, tore his bicep muscle. George Odom is what was the NFL's special teams tackle leader last season, and he's probably done for the year. So adding Luter really helps that unit. You saw it in action yesterday, but making up for the loss of Odom when the 49ers have already been struggling in some of these coverage aspects, that's going to be a big, big priority for the 49ers moving forward. So we'll see what moves they end up making at safety. Why don't we do a quick roster check-in? Because yesterday was Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And I don't think that, we've had a chance to update this. The 49ers took Samuel Womack off of IR. They officially activated him. They waived Shamar Jean-Charles, so we could take Jean-Charles off and we could put Samuel Womack into the mix for the 49ers right here. Womack off of IR. And reset the perfect. Take him off of IR here. So now on IR, you have Cam Latu, who's done for the season. Danny Gray, eligible to return. Robert Beal, Robert Beal's window to return closes on Monday, and I don't think the 49ers suffered any D-line injuries, so it looks like they have decided to redshirt Robert Beal unless there's a big surprise. And that makes total sense. The 49ers are just so loaded along the defensive line. And then if they need him, the 49ers can designate Drake Jackson to return in a week or two. But at this point, they don't. So this is a look at the 49ers 53-man roster. I'm counting their practice squad spots right now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. They've got one practice squad spot open. I know the team wants Jason Verrett to sign there. I don't know if Jason Verrett wants to sign to the practice squad or if he's holding out for a 53-man spot. But the 49ers would love to have the veteran cornerback in their locker room. That's what it looks like. Team is healthy. I know that there have been some injuries like the Odom one, but the star players have remained available. And the 49ers are certainly happy about that as they enter Philadelphia. That's going to be the Philadelphia milestone. It's going to be a big, big game for this team. But first, the Eagles against the Bills coming up this weekend. Open it up to 49ers Q&A. Yeah, Womack downing it at the 1. Not up the, special teams wise, Mitch Wishnowski's been really good. He's been the best part of the 49ers special teams unit this year. Post a few questions. Let's go. The Awesomes has been calling Thomas trash this whole year, but Ambry has come alive. Yeah, Ambry Thomas, impressive. And now you got reinforcements on top of him and Samuel Womack and Darrell Luter Jr. What will the 49ers do at safety to fill in for Odom? Yeah, here. Let's take a look at this because Odom is now hurt. So we can go ahead and put Odom on injured reserve. 49ers have 2 safeties down. And if this ends up not being the case, we'll just move Odom back. That's my disclaimer right here. But Shanahan is expecting Odom to go to IR. That's going to open up a 53-man roster spot. So either you sign a safety, because now you absolutely have to bring in a safety. They have Jair Brown and Tashawn Gibson, but you have nobody behind them. So you can call Taylor Hawkins up, or you could bring in a veteran. Hawkins is on the practice squad for the 49ers. Those are your 2 options. So we'll see what the 49ers do from a roster standpoint. Jair Brown, really good at safety so far. I don't know if they've improved, but you didn't hear from him yesterday outside of one missed tackle, which is really nice. Mitch Wishnowsky does have that special spin, the English, the Australian English on his punts. And that gave DJ Dallas some trouble yesterday. I do think that Wilkes' presence on the field is working. And I think it's, like I said, Kyle Shanahan, according to Charvarius Ward, overrode the plan for to cover DK Metcalf. And I think that going back to the basics, going back to what has worked in the past, has been a big part of the 49ers strategy this season. All right, good show. Everybody, thank you for joining. This has been fun. Much more content coming up. I'm going to show you a little bit of Nashville a little bit later today. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out all the articles, and we will talk to you very soon.